hi everyone, and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back with Dunera, and I just want to say that new piece of music you heard was, of course, done by our very lovely Jacon's Gold. It's amazing, and I love it. Right, first of all, I'll get some things said before we head round and say hi to all these lovely people. Please check out the links to our Discord. There is a channel purely for Dunera, which I know most of you know, where we all scream at it, yell about it, talk about theories, you name it. I went into it once and the whole thing was blocked out with spoilers, so it's fun. Otherwise, if you've missed anything, you can head over to YouTube, and there is a wonderful Dunera playlist which you can check out if you've missed anything or just want to rewatch. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors who we couldn't do this without. We've got Hero Forge. They are starting their Black Friday today. I've been obsessed. I've made minis for all my games so far, and I will probably start doing it for some of the NPCs here in Dunera. There is a code Scratticus for $5 off your first miniature purchase. It is very addictive, so be put aside like at least an hour. Also, Mage Hand Press. You can pre-order Dark Matter today. I love Dark Matter. Yeah, I think you would have seen it in the game before this, so go check it out. And also the Deck of Many, where you can see their moving spell cards and also Humblewood. So please go and check that out as well. Otherwise, oh, hang on. We've hit 10 retweets. Okay, so 10 retweets now. I have made a brand new trinket list for this season. So every 10 retweets, someone here gets gifted a brand new trinket. I will get them to roll for it in a moment. Otherwise, let's head round and say hello to everyone. And we will start, as we always do, with the lovely Jagon's Gold. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. I hope everyone's thriving tonight. I am so excited to be back. My life has sorely been missing those Dunera vibes, that Dunera goodness. But we're here. And I will be playing Paula Packer, our librarian, dancer, and flirt. And I mean, well, I don't know. She's not a very good one. But
she tries.
Yeah, and she does try. And I am so excited to find out why my mom has a sniper rifle.
Is that all you've been waiting for the last 3 weeks? Yeah, I thought it might have been. Okay, perfect, thank you. And then we're gonna hop down to the very lovely Tool School. Oh, hi.
I'm like saying hi to everyone in chat. It's like not paying attention.
It's fine.
Like,
that's fine.
We're back. I will be playing Tom Falk, who is exhausted. Oh my gosh, the longest day of our lives or night of our lives. And yeah, at this point, I think he's just like, that was a lot. I think that's kind of I think pretty much just like, that was a lot. It's kind of where Tolan is right now. I'm so excited for this new season because holy wow. I mean, just the art. Can we just start with that of things that are happening there? Not to mention it's Dunera. So wow, and stuff and things. Awesome. Wow. But you know what? Right now, it's just a lot. It's a lot.
I just envisioned Tolan leaving the church, just walking home like, I'm out. I'm going to go and sleep for a bit.
He totally nopes out. He's just like, I'm out. And I wanted to go home at midnight. It's now 6 a.m.
Past my bedtime.
Oh, yeah.
But seriously, this artwork, I'm obsessed. So... And don't pay any attention to what's in the background. It's all fine. Otherwise, we're going to hop across to the very lovely Mal. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi, I'm Mal, and I'll be playing Reese Blackash, and I have a very large wolf named Astrid. And honestly, I don't know what else to say, because I think Reese is still just like, what the fuck is going on here? I've been in town less than 24 hours. What the fuck happened?
It's so true, though. I forget what sort of space of time it's been, and you've literally rocked up like, oh yeah, I'll pay Kanan a visit, and kablam. Perfect.
I hope every city Reese goes to doesn't end up with a building fucking exploding.
It's gonna start thinking it's his fault. Mystery. So, last but certainly not least, our wonderful Sarah, who's come to join us. Thank you. Oh, hi.
Hello, everyone. I am incredibly humbled and so excited to be joining this amazing world that Alice has built, this amazing cast of players who have helped build the world and just the role-playing and the characters they bring to it. And I'm going to be introducing y'all to Florence Fetlock, my character, in just a little bit. The only thing I'll say about her for now is she is a postal service worker for the city of Carnan.
I love her so much already. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. When the sun came up that morning, the world had changed. People had heard the explosion the night before, that it had sort of echoed throughout the city. And now, as this golden light has begun to cast across Carnan, we can see the church. What was the church? The door is caved in, the roof and the walls have all collapsed. You can see the broken tiles, the shattered stained glass litter the floor. Debris seems to be hovering in the air, almost just still, some of it just sort of rotating slightly with this bizarre sort of oil-coloured slick glow around it, as these ruins are almost as if they're held in time, stopped at that moment of the explosion. And people don't know what's going on. The Watchers are trying to keep the curious people back. People are hoping to get glimpses of the Seers, because many of them have never seen them before. And there is a mild panic going on, but at the same time, there's a lot more wonder going on. And the city is confused. Questions are being asked. Whispers of what happened are flooding through the city. They're reaching every single end, and it's always slightly different at a different corner of the city as the whispers go round. A few days later, over on the other side of the city, close to the Grand Canal, is a very small, very small, man-made island that is known as Carnan City Post Office. There's a few bridges on and off, but there's lots and lots of gondolas parked all the way around the edges. Almost there's no gap to actually get down to the shoreline with how many are there. And within this post office is a sorting room. It's sort of more of a tower, and a tower full of lots that sort of reaches up very, very high, full of lots of little wooden cases and boxes, all numbered, all named, that sort of swirl all the way up this tower. And if you were to stand in there, you would see parcels, letters, and all manner of posts are either jammed into these things or they're being carefully placed, particularly at the lower levels. You can see some of the parcels and letters are directing themselves into the correct box as they sort of almost create this crossroads of post, assigning themselves. A couple of postal workers down below. You can see a small Inarquay gibbon sort of swinging from side to side. And it seems to be filing some of the letters. You can hear someone shouting up to it, trying to point to different sections and different numbers and saying it's the wrong one. Some are more filled than others. And this is where we find Felicity. So, Felicity? Why have I written that down? I'm sorry. Florence, this is fine. I'm on 1 hour sleep. Sarah, what does Florence look like?
So we see a woman in her clearly late 20s. She has short, kind of unkempt brown hair, and she's wearing the uniform of a postal service worker. It's kind of this really lovely mix of shades of teal and of blue and of bright green, kind of representing the blue of the water and the canals, and I think like the bright leaves of the story tree. And she's a sturdy looking woman. She looks kind of, imagine the build of a power lifter. And that's more what Florence looks like. She's not particularly tall. She's not lithe, but she looks strong. And she is helping sort some of the mail that looks like a little irregular, things that the magic, for whatever reason, wasn't able to sort into the right spot.
And you know it's normally because either the handwriting can't be read or someone's mixed up the wrong address with a different code and things like that. And it's like it just, the magic can't process it. So every now and then you can see sort of at your side, you have a big sorting table in front of you, which is actually just a big wooden table. It looks to be fairly ornately carved and decorated, far too much for the postal service. But you also know that Teddy, your employer, likes these sorts of things. So every now and then you find something very, very nice in this old Carnham post office. There's a huge tub, massive like tub on wheels, a big wooden one beside you. And you have this pile up of letters and parcels as they sort of drift very slowly down from the chaos above you, organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless as it drifts down when they can't be sorted into different sections. And you stand there for a moment, and it seems to be a lot busier than usual. And you know what's happened in Khan, and there's whispers of what could have actually happened. You've even seen people come in to send off letters and things like that. There's whispers of a creature that destroyed this church, or there was a group of people that did it, or the church itself was doing it as part of a conspiracy to gain like sort of trust and things like this. There's so many different theories, and you've probably heard them all. And through this tiny little archway, you can hear Teddy. Just, Florence, come on, we're packed in here.
Just let me. And she's like she's looking at a letter. It probably has children's writing on it, and she's decided what she thinks, what she's pretty sure it says. She's pretty sure she's seen a letter from this person before. So she does the thing she always does, where you slap a new label on it, rewrite the address, and then kind of like toss it back into the magic screen so the letter sorts itself. And then she leaves to go see her boss, Teddy, and kind of figure out what the kerfuffle is about.
Yeah, you can see Teddy, this very large man, very stocky in the shoulders. Again, you know he moves stuff around all the time. Very sort of dark skin, almost like braided long hair, almost like dreadlocks, but not quite. And can you describe his anarchway that sits on the desk next to him for me, please?
So perhaps the cutest animal in the world is the quokka, which is this little marsupial. Imagine big cheeks full of like love and these big eyes, and they're about the size of a cat, and they have a pouch. I will provide chat with a link so you can look up these adorable animals. And his quokka almost always has like a little letter in its pouch, and clearly helps him sort the mail every day in the mail house.
You step out onto this, and you can see Teddy. He's a very chill guy. He doesn't panic about anything, and he looks stressed. Well, he looks mildly stressed, but he's definitely stressed for Teddy. And you can see he's behind this desk. You see all of these letters, and you see all these parcels piling up. And for the first time, this place is crowded. People are sending letters everywhere. You can see them going to places you haven't seen people sending letters to for a very long time. There is the usual guy that's there that's trying to get you to send out some leaflets, even though you refuse junk mail. But they're all there, and it's a bit chaotic. And this this smaller narquois that sat looking very happy with itself, the big cheeks as it sort of smiles, looking at some of the customers, like taking some of the letters, putting them in different piles, sometimes puts one in the pouch. You can see Teddy throwing letters and parcels back as they get caught in that stream of magic and get almost like they're sucked back into that tower room. And he's like, okay, look, we've got really, yes, give me a moment. And he's like, oh, we've got to, it's hell. Why are there so many people here? Who even sends this? Who sends letters nowadays anyway? People not heard of a phone?
I mean, we kind of, I always feel like I need to remind you that people do need to keep sending letters because that is literally what we do for our jobs, but it is busier than usual.
My tea's gone cold.
Yeah, no, I think this has got to have something to do with what happened earlier this week, right?
I don't even know what that's about. I mean, like, you just hear, Rebecca, take over. And this girl that who seems to be fairly new, that you do recognize, comes quickly shuffling over and placed in front of this huge group. And immediately is like, hello, how can I help you? And as she's then swarmed by these people, and Teddy takes the opportunity to go back into the tower room with you. And you can hear just like, come on, Quincy, as this small little cockroach just sort of hops off the table and starts almost like hopping just above ground as he's running after his companion. He's like, look, I've got some important mail and I need you to deliver it because you can nonsense. And he sort of goes to put a coin in a swear jar. He's nonsense. We don't take any nonsense. They're very important. They're from Valadris. They came by like urgent mail. They haven't arrived yet, though. So I don't know what to do. Whereas they were on special request, and you know,
Teddy, don't worry. I'll check and double check the unsorted mail, and I'll find it. You get me their tracking numbers or the request, and I promise you don't have to think about them again. They'll get delivered.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Puts like a hand on your shoulder and like squeezes and like shakes you a little bit. He's probably heavier than he is with you than he is with most people. You know, normally that Khan Postal's office is never this busy. He's so chilled out most of the time. He's normally behind the desk with his feet up on something, taking in these letters. He's a very friendly guy, but for someone who works in such a people environment, he's not a fan of people, unless he really knows them. You hear him disappear back out. He's like, I gotta go help Rebecca. And you hear, what do you want? Like as he sort of goes and walks out of this area. So what would you do to try and find these things?
So I think first, while Teddy's talking about, like, we see Teddy's kind of riled up in a way he isn't usually, and Florence, who's usually kind of chill, I think there's like someone is putting up a post or a package and slams it on the counter in the other room. And when that sound hits the counter, like Florence jumps. And she's, I think, gotten really skittish and kind of like jumpy over the last few days when, you know, there's the night where it was just shouting and screaming and explosions, and that's really gotten to her, but she's been trying to kind of stay calm. And so I think she refocuses her mind on the task at hand. That's one thing she really likes about the post office, is there's always something to do. I think she'll start by she'll take that second look she promised Teddy she'd do and look in that just big tub of messages that didn't quite get there. She's thinking, maybe they're written in a different script. Maybe the magic didn't get, for whatever reason. So she's just gonna take a second look.
Okay. You sit there and you're sort of sifting through all these letters. You're seeing a lot of very, I guess, ornate handwriting, which just isn't being processed. Like, it's very beautiful handwriting, but it's just not being processed by this post office. And after a while, you almost sort of like, this is a deep, almost like big barrel that you can almost half climb in to have a look, when a cup of tea is like plopped down on the table in front of you, and Rebecca is there, this very just sort of mousy brown hair girl, very young, very, very new. She's normally just doing the tea with the odd job she's learning, but she's kind of been thrown into it because of the last few days. And you see this gibbon that's putting everything in the wrong place swing down this tower and sort of shuffle over to her with its feet and its arms almost sort of dragging as it sort of climbs back onto her, with this very sort of soft yellow glow to it. And she sort of like stretches her arms out, stretches them up a bit, and she's like, everyone's talking about what happened. It's crazy. They won't stop asking me questions when I just want to file letters. I don't know what to do.
It's okay. It's okay. You just look at them. You say, "I'm sorry. I don't know much about the incident that occurred, but we will be posting images or we'll be posting information around the city as soon as we have it." And then you tell them to have a good day, and then they leave. And that's all you have to do. It's okay. We don't have to have all the answers.
Okay, that's good, because I was really trying to figure something out. I think I told I've made some wild stories to the guy with the leaflets, but then I figured that was okay for him because we don't really want him coming back.
No.
But
I mean, honestly, I don't even think I want to know what happened. All I know is the night it happened, I was cooking and then I was underneath my kitchen table, and I don't know how long I was there for. So I'm just happy my place and this place is in one piece.
Yeah, no, I suppose you're right. Teddy said there was a couple of satchels that need to go out today that are on for your shift, and also that there's someone here that's just arrived with letters you're looking for or something. I don't know.
Rebecca, thank you.
She wants to come through though.
That's fine. Yeah, if you could send her right back here to me, that's great.
Teddy's not fine with it. He doesn't like people in his space.
It'll be just tell him that I told you to do it, and it'll be fine.
Okay. Like, as she sort of like wanders out, and you can hear like a mild annoyance in Teddy's voice, and he's just like, "Through there, ma'am." As there's a moment where this woman walks through, and she walks through and just stands in this archway for a moment and looks at you in a very white suit, bright red hair, sort of cropped bob, red lipstick, very blue eyes, and a scarf sort of just like draped around her shoulders. And she looks at you. It's just like, "Hello. I believe you're part of the postal service and will be taking my letters out today."
That's correct. I had them send you back here so we could handle it away from the crowd. I know this one's really important.
You really are. And she does smile at you. She seems very warm and inviting. And you see a slight glint of an anarque that sort of hovers around her shoulders. And we're going to hop over, first of all, to Tolan. What or where can we find Tolan these few days after all this has happened? Where would he be?
Tolan was just done. It was a lot. As they walked, I guess, out and away of the church after seeing what had happened with Charlie and the sphere, and just this night that would not stop, I think he probably looked at the party and just said, "I'm going back to my shop." And so at that point, there was a time when he was a little worried that he might get intercepted or that that being at his shop would not be a good place to be, but he doesn't even care anymore. So he just walked back through the, I guess, early morning light. Though it all probably looked gray to him at that point. It was that sort of tunnel vision you get when you're just mentally, physically, emotionally just in sort of like autopilot. He would have probably walked in the door, and I know the whole way he probably was thinking about he just wanted to make it to his bed, but he probably got in the door, hung up his jacket, and sat down in that just sort of plain, not very comfortable wooden chair by the door. And probably got stuck there, as he sometimes will get stuck trying to make it out of the house. You think he probably got stuck maybe for one of the first times, just even trying to get back into the house. He wanted nothing more than maybe a cup of tea in his bed and just to start to unwind. But he was stuck. And he probably, till well into the afternoon, awake and stuck in that chair as his mind went through everything and wouldn't stop, and his body just felt like lead and couldn't move. And the thought probably would go through his head at least 3 or 4 times every couple of minutes of, I need to move, I should get up, I need to go to the kitchen, and he would just not. Middle of the afternoon, something finally gave, almost like an iceberg cracking off of a glacier. And he found himself able to move again, able to get out of that chair that he was stuck in. Made it to the kitchen. Got a pot, water boiling. And in that little sort of studio space that has the bed to one side and the kitchen to the other and the little table by the window, his desk, he probably sat down on the bed, and even before the water boiled, just fell asleep. Luckily, his kettle, being as everything's sort of magical, it turned itself off after about the 3rd time beeping, trying to get him to come for it. And then probably slept all the way through until the following morning.
It's a morning where you wake up to, and it's the first full day since everything happened. And it is raining outside. You can hear that pitter patter of rain sort of drumming very lightly on the window. And on the side, you do see something that maybe jogs something in you. It's something maybe you thought you'd misplaced a long time ago. And it's a set of lenses, excuse me, that Charlie broke when she last came into the shop, that day that I think you chased her out when she was much younger, and they've kind of been forgotten and put off to the side for a bit. And they sit there, and you know what you've made these for as well. This is part of your trinket. These are a set of glasses that help you to see in the dark, because you often worked late into the night, and it, it it's something that was broken and maybe you've never repaired it since then, and you know the magic surrounding them still works. It's literally the frames are snapped.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been sat as you can remember, and it's purely now that you associate them with Charlie that you have spotted them again.
Yeah, I think it's probably in one of the dozen or so piles of sort of bins, the little sort of open bins that things get thrown into. And as he makes his way around, I think he wakes up to that sound of the rain, and there's a part of him that just says, thank goodness it's raining. So there's no excuse to need to be out. He sort of looks at empty cupboards and empty shelves and just goes, well, it's raining. I can't go take care of that. So, and almost with relief that there's pretty much nothing in the house, but also he has a perfect excuse to not have to leave. And so with a cup of sort of weak tea, maybe a little oatmeal or porridge, that he's one of the few things that he can somehow get together without burning. Probably takes those few couple steps down out of the little living area down into the main shop area through that sort of little curtained off door that is in the wall that separates the two. And putters, and then bumps in, sort of probably looks across the room almost. And it's almost like in a video game where the thing you're supposed to click glows. And it kind of stands out, and he immediately recognizes what they are. And so he crosses over to them. I think he probably sets his tea down and kind of looks at them for a second before eventually sort of picking them up and sort of figuring out what needs to be fixed.
And you play around with them for a bit. You realize it's literally just like the metal that snapped. Otherwise, it doesn't seem damaged at all. You suspect that when Charlie dropped them, it was literally they snapped because they were older and fragile, and you were kind of like like you were trying to bring them back to what they were. These are probably a very old set. You can see that they're very round lenses, and on the side, there's other smaller lenses that click down.
Flip downs.
Yeah, like some of them they were for magnifying, others you think maybe at some point for more intense, effectively like dark vision, like you could see further and things like that, or maybe in different colors. And again, you spend another day sort of pottering around, and you do, however, when it comes around to the next day, it's still raining. Not as heavy. It's very, very light. It's almost like a mist settles across Carnan. It's that mist you can't really see, but when you walk back in the house, you're soaked. You don't quite realize you're getting wet until it happens. And you can hear like a judder. Almost like, I guess, multiple fans going off, like a machine that seems to be whirring away, but this is on a huge scale, and it seems to be coming from above the house and moving across in the sky across the top of your house.
I think a couple things over those days of puttering. I think as he works on those glasses, it's the first time on that second, that first full day, he, because he's working with his hands again, he remembers what had happened when he had opened up that jar and he had his magic back for a moment, and he sort of notices now that his sleeves are too short. And there's a part of him that wonders about what that little infusion of magic might mean. When he was, before the accident, he had always tried to do persistent changes to himself so they wouldn't burn magic. When he was shaping his physicality to change that of what he would need as a seeker. But as with all magic, incarnate and persistent magic, it's matching the idea to a system, and sometimes that system can be biological, as we've looked into a little bit. But after the accident, pieces of that system changed out of whether a lot of those changes he did were out of necessity and somewhat vanity and things that he needed. And so they faded over the time during those 8 years. And his old wardrobe started to not fit and were hung away. But the reason why he wonders is because as he opened up that container with magic in it, and that it infused with him, the idea that locked with that magic was nostalgia. Nostalgia is a powerful, persistent thing. And so I think now on this third day, he's probably gone into that old wardrobe. Shirts with longer sleeves, little broader shoulders, little deeper hem in his pants for the height. I think he probably for the first time notices is almost, the 90% salt and 2% and 10% pepper hair is now more like sort of 50-50 salt and pepper hair. As he probably first looks in the mirror, and it's he keeps thinking about systems and magic locking together, and how so many of those ideas, even with what they saw in the church, are going to become critical into either fixing or stopping or changing what's happened. And he's knocked out of those thoughts by this whirring sound, this above the house, but probably assume so, but sort of shaking the windows in there.
It's kind of like you can hear some of it rattling. It's not so much the windows are rattling. Also, thank you to Natalie for gifting Tollan an advantage.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's more that the glasses that may be resting against it, you can feel the pressure there as it starts to move over. It sort of subsides as it moves overhead. But you hear a bang at your door, and you recognize that knock anywhere. It's Averick's panic, just constant, like the drumming until you answer kind of thing. You're pretty sure he picked it up off of Aggie, because she doesn't tend to stop until you answer. And he started to do it. You can hear, Tollan, I know you're in there. You're not answering your phone.
I think at that point he kind of pats down his pockets and pulls out the phone, and it's dead as can be because he didn't plug it in. All right, hold up. The damn thing's dead again.
Of course it is. Now open the door.
Fine. And he goes over and opens the door.
Yeah, you see him there. He looks tired at most. Otherwise, he looks absolutely fine.
You look terrible.
So do you. Now look at this. And he grabs you sort of by like the front of your shirt and pulls you out and goes, what the hell is that? And as you look up into the sky, you see this huge airship. Absolutely huge, almost Zeppelin in style. A huge balloon which has this almost like very golden honeycomb glow all the way around the outside as you see the energy pumping through it. This ship attached to underneath it, these huge fans, effectively these big propellers that are going around, which you're guessing is what made this sound, and there seems to be 4, and you can see them adjusting, pointing down, pointing in different directions to steer this. And he hasn't let go of the front of you to drag you out. You think maybe he fears you might run back in, but he's holding on to you. He's like, what is that?
Tolan looks up at it, and I'm sure Tolan's not seen anything like it, but I also think he immediately goes into tinkering engineer mode, and he goes, well, that must be some sort of containment unit. The large balloon shape piece is... God's the magic that must be drawing.
Is that you hear Averick's eyes roll. It's that loud. He just... I know what it is, but what is it? Like, where is it come? Apparently 2 of them have landed. There's more than 1.
Well, I would say that it's visitors.
And again, you get that blank stare, and he's like, okay, come on, let's go and have a look. And he starts like dragging you out of the house.
Let me get my jacket and...
hurry up, it's fine.
Where's my damn hat? Where did...
It's fine, I'll buy you another hat. Now come on, I want to go.
It's raining,
And you're looking at him, and he's like dripping, and that hair just like slicked to the face where it sort of dripped.
You look like a drowned rat.
Thank you, but now come on. Like, and he's sort of almost half not listening.
And he grabs just any old hat that's in there, not remembering where he had put Tom's hat, and sort of pulls his collar up and starts to run along beside Averick, who is a little bit quicker than him. And if Averick turned down and looked right back, he would be scowling his worst scowl. But
he won't look back because he knows that's what you're doing.
Well, here's the thing, is if he really looked back, or if he had a mirror, he would see Tolan smiling. Nostalgia, it's a powerful, persistent thing.
And you see Clyde bounding everywhere, almost getting in there. You see Averick almost trip over him as this happens. And you can hear that drumming of the air as this airship is sort of slowly steadying itself. You can see there is a huge open space, almost like another courtyard. It's not where the season tree is. You know, it's where specifically like church events tended to happen. And you can see it slowly coming down behind some of the buildings. You can see people looking up into the air, some of them holding onto their coats as this breeze comes over. And some people are walking, some people are running, some people don't want to go anywhere near this thing. You see a lot of kids running towards this thing. Oh, yeah. Like they're sprinting, and you can see this shimmer of this golden honeycomb like seems to be pulsing as it slowly lands. And even in the area you're in, you hear the as it's like it shuts down, that power, that energy shuts down, and the fans finally stop. And now we're going to hop over to Paula. Where are you, Paula?
Well, after the big explosion at the church, after the light faded away and the dust settled, Paula probably looked for her mom in concern and panic. But when she finds her mom, as the dust is like settling and fading from, or making her view clearer, she sees the sniper rifle strapped to her mom's back and just lets out the deepest sigh of disappointment. Almost in disbelief that her mom, that she's going through this again with her mom again. And you know, her mom might be like lying down or need a help up, but Paula, I think she'd just walk away from and head back towards the apartment in a slow walk, and kind of like eyes so wide open, just like, I'm not crying, like, you know, kind of thing.
It's a slow walk back to the apartment. Your mum definitely keeps her distance from you, feeling how you're feeling. And you see Matthias give you almost like he's going to reach out as you go, but in the end gives you a nod, seeing that you're leaving. He sort of holds up that, like, you know, mouths the words like "message me" as you leave, that he's holding his brother. And that morning, I guess, you arrive back at the apartment. Door opens, you close it. Felonius is immediately rubbing around your legs, purring away. You can see what looks like dinner left on the table, a half-packed bag that looks like it was stopped mid-packing, phone on the side, off the hook. And thank you very much, Sphinx. An advantage and 2 for me. Yay. Thank you. As you walk into this kitchen, it's exactly how you left it, other than the packing and things like that. You can see your mother was packing. Yeah. And probably about 10 minutes after you've arrived, you hear that door open and close again as your mum walks in. You hear that clatter as she takes everything off her back, puts it down. She looks at you and pauses, and there's a definite look of worry and upset. She walks over to the kettle, flicks the switch, and there's probably quite a moment of silence. And after a while, it gets to around just a bit later, and she pulls a leaflet out. Do you want to take out?
I'm moving out.
I thought you would.
And Paula goes into her room and starts packing a bag. And she shouts through the door as she starts taking her bag open. If you'd like to explain, feel free, but I'm done asking questions. And I'm done trying to make this work.
And there's... Paula's mum rests a hand on the other side of the door. Do I have to talk you through a door?
Paula will kind of swing the door open, but quickly go back to packing her bag.
You see her take a deep breath. Watchers were trained in my day with certain things, as she glances back to where she's dumped all of her stuff by the door. And I was one of the best. So... And there's another pause where she leans against the door frame. Jin, Aggie, and I were a team, I guess is what you want to call it. If I'm honest with you, I didn't realize either of them were alive, and you can sense that tension, not at you, but definitely towards them. It was a bit of a shock. And so Oh, thank you, but it gives me a disadvantage to use at my leisure. Oh, I love all this love to me today. Thank you. And she takes another deep breath. You can see she's standing awkwardly, like she's trying to get herself comfortable, and she's not comfortable in any way. Look, when you become a watcher, they train you and stuff, and when your father disappeared, I know it had something to do with the church. I don't know what, but I wanted to find out. And I met Aggie. She said I'd known her long before that, obviously. She was Edric's mentor, but her husband disappeared too, Tom. And she swore it was something to do with the church. Jin, again, partner gone, swore it was something to do with the church. Things weren't lining up right. Things weren't going well. Aggie knew Jin way before me. Knew her when she was a child or something. I don't know. I met Jin through Aggie. And no one was doing anything about it. No one was looking for them. No one... I don't know. And we were all scared. And because no one was doing anything about it, we decided to. Shortly after the disappearance, we formed, I guess you would call it, a resistance against the church. We had me, who could get in. I knew the ways around the church. We had Aggie, a seeker, who knew, I mean, to be honest, I still don't exactly know what she knows, but I don't think anyone ever will. And then there was Jin. I don't know what Jin did to get the skills she has, but I do know she has, there's a reason she doesn't go back to the Summer Isles. And I don't know what that is. I think she's not allowed back more than doesn't go back. I'm not too sure. And nothing was working. We couldn't find anything. We were trying to rally up some form of support. No one believed us, so we decided to do it ourselves. But it's very difficult trying to take down or explore some form of place without making yourself look like the bad guys, you know? And I'm sorry. I was just looking for your father.
As she says that, Paula has probably packed most of her clothes, at least from her drawers, and had just unlocked her one locked drawer that she keeps her father's book and box of photographs that Amma had given to Paula. And she takes the box out and gives them back to her mom. Well, I'm glad I know now. This doesn't change anything.
I know.
Have you ever, well, this is the last question I'm going to ask. I promise. No more questions after this one. have you ever had to use that rifle on a person?
She pauses for a moment. I shot a man in the foot once. I missed.
I thought you said that you were their best shot.
I didn't want to hit him. I never miss. That was the one time I missed.
You can keep Felonious. I'm very busy.
Understandable. And she sort of like puts her head down and moves out of the doorway so that you can walk past.
I have just one more question. It's going to be the last question.
She half smiles.
I swear on Felonious's life. Last question.
And she's like, "Don't do that." And puts like
Okay,
pushes her
I'm sorry.
like,
I'm sorry.
Felonious's ears down on the
Felonious, I'm
counter.
so sorry. And no,
He covers his ears.
I take it back. I have another question. Did Aggie tell you about before last night? Before tonight? I mean, she looks out the window and sees the sun rising and before tonight.
Tell me about what?
About everything that was going on, about me and Talon and...
No. When she wants to be, she can be a very private person. And it was not my place to know. I only got involved when I was told you could be in a worrying predicament at the church. That's when she called me. And when I found out she was alive. She's very good at keeping things... Information is released only when it needs to be. Let's say that.
Right.
I'm not spying on you, Paula. That's the one thing I was never good at.
You know, one day I'll be able to express to you how disappointed I am and how angry I am. But right now, I'm so tired. Like, I literally think I might have been awake for 48 hours. I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard to say at this point. But I'm going. I'll keep my phone charged. But please don't reach out to me unless you absolutely have to.
If you want to message me or talk to me, you do that. Otherwise, you don't have to hear from me or see from me. And just maybe a message to let me know you're safe somewhere, please.
Yeah.
You can see the sadness in her eyes, but you can see also the very deadpan face. You know, she's always been good at that when she needs to be. And she steps out of your way, picks up Felonious, and sort of keeps him in one arm. Take the leaflet with you. It's our favorite takeaway place. You're not gonna have the number.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
And just kind of
Yeah,
shove
no,
that
it's
in her
fine.
bag. And
Yeah.
actually, like in the book, like the old book, she'll put that in between the pages. With the anatomy. But Yeah, and Paula will make her way, at first through the heart of Karnan, but eventually towards the seedier, more narrow streets that she's actually very comfortable with and used to. And Paula knows that near the cabaret is an old motel, and and the sign outside, I'm sure, is like like really like
you can see it flickering. There's a lot of like vines and stuff that have wrapped itself around the sign, so there are some like little buds sprouting, but the sign itself is flickering, and you can hear it. When you hear a bulb goes like whirs, it's that kind of sign.
Exactly, yeah. And at this point she's so tired. Normally when she's walking through the streets, she's either dancing and or reading or thinking, but at this point I think Paula's just so like physically exhausted that she's literally just following her instinct to navigate these paths through Karnan and get to this hotel, and she'll go in there and get a room for the night, and that's probably where she'd stay for the next couple days. And she definitely check in with Niles, her boss at the cabaret, to apologize for her recent absences lately, and promise to do more and work harder. And she'd also definitely check in with Matthias and the Archdeacon. In fact, she'd probably make it a priority to go visit the Archdeacon and Matthias. But like specifically check on the Archdeacon.
I mean, they've definitely that Matthias messages you before you go, and he's just like, just so you know, he's at my place. I'm keeping an eye on him. Mum isn't happy. Mum is on the way. Like, it's the list off, because they normally live further outside the city. In fact, he'll probably give you a call, and you can guess this is probably you're the first person he's spoken to since then, other than his angry mother. And he's on the phone to you. He's like, he's doing well. I mean, he's still his grumpy self, and he's not sleeping great, but he's okay. Mom is mad. She's so mad, but hey, what can you do? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Just loving my life as a free woman, free from my mother's shackles.
Is it a snazzy hotel you're in? What is it? Where are you?
And Paula looks around, like she's probably on the phone as she's like laying on her motel bed, where she can feel the springs in the mattress. And every movement she makes,
you hear them when you move.
Exactly. There's and Matthias can probably hear the squeaking through the phone. And there's the AC that's also making a very loud, rumbly noise. And I'm sure there's also some noise through the wall, because neighbors in motels. So there's a lot of noises happening.
How long do you have to stay there? I'd offer you somewhere like, my place, but I don't want to be weird or anything. But I do know places that have rooms that are looking for tenants, if it helps.
Oh, I don't mind this. And Paula kind of smooths out the sheet. There's like a little wrinkle in the sheet. She smooths it out as if that's gonna like make it nice. I don't mind this. It's got character.
I mean, that's a very positive word for it.
I don't really have plans right now, Matthias, and I don't really know that I'm capable of making plans right now, if I'm being honest. And I just kind of need to take things one day at a time. So
Okay, well, now that your busy schedule is open, you know, when I had to book you in before, well, if you're not so busy planning now, if you want to get a coffee tomorrow, I mean, I could do with escaping my brother for a little bit, and Mom will be here, and I don't want to sit with both of them in the same room. I'm gonna be told off for him getting hurt.
well, and Paula, like, she pulls the phone away from her ear and puts him on speaker and starts to, like, she opens up like the notes app and is starting to look at all the things she has to do, and it says like, call Uncle Ricky and like, you know, like get back on stage and just like a number of tasks within the library. And there's one note that just says like Noah ... and yeah, I mean, I guess we could make a little bit of time, nothing too long, like maybe just like a quick coffee kind of situation.
You mean like when I brought you coffee and walked you to work?
I mean, that would be ideal, but if we could, I mean, if you want to sit down for a little bit, then I wouldn't say no.
I could do that. As I said, my mom will be here probably actually in the next hour and a half, so I'm already preparing myself. So tomorrow would be a good relief. She's a wonderful woman, just not when she's angry. She's not angry at me, but she's angry at a lot of other people. Like really angry. She's like small and vicious.
Ooh, she sounds scary.
She's terrifying when she wants to be.
Oh boy.
A whole sort of 5'0" of anger when it happens.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know whether that's like the kind of energy.
Well, I know I don't want it, so
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it would be good for you to get away from that.
I mean, I know I would like an escape, and then overhead you hear that whirring and that chugging, that sound of these huge propellers. Something is moving overhead. That loose like headboard on your motel room bed is like sort of banging, sort of moving backwards and forwards.
Oh, the AC's acting handle.
up again. And the door starts to move, like where it's just looser on the hinges. And he says, I don't know, there's something flying over. I don't know what it is. Can you hear it as well? And he starts to listen, like your end, and you can feel whatever it is coming overhead.
Oh, I thought that was just the AC. And
what kind of AC do you have?
Paula will run up to the window and look through and try to see if there's anything.
And as you do, you look, you sort of like, you know, those really sort of 70s colored curtains you look through as you look out, and it is sunlight, so it's quite bright.
Mustard yellow.
Yeah, that mustard yellow with a bit of brown and beige and red. Yeah, they're my university curtains. You see this huge airship with that honeycomb glow, that gold glow sort of move overhead, and you can see it heading towards the direction, and you know there's a square sort of nearer the church, or you can't see the church spire anymore, but you can see it heading in that direction. And almost as you look up at it, you hear Matthias, and then it's like, there is a freaking airship outside. What the hell? And you hear like a bang, and you think he's probably like pressed his face against a window or something. It sounds like glass.
Just as like a flavor note, I imagine like as that vibration, like that like big rumble starts happening, I notice that the neighbors go silent, like, you know. Like they probably like ran up to the window too. But
you can see people coming out of like their motel rooms and coming out and standing on the balcony looking out as this huge airship goes over.
Oh my.
Yeah, Matthias said, I really want to go look at it, but if I leave my brother, I'm pretty sure my mom is going to kill me.
Okay, why? I'll look. You stay with your brother, and I'll let you know
I need updates and pictures if
I'll...
you can send them.
Well, she puts her thumbs up, and then she realizes that Matthias can't see her thumb, and then she says, "Will do."
Okay, no, fantastic. Go have a look now. Go. And you sort of like hear the excitement in his voice and that he can't go anywhere. You hear the Deacon Marks yell in the background. It's like, would you shut up? Like, as there's like, you think something's been thrown, like a pillow or something as well. Like, okay, I've got to go, but pictures.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And as Paula is, she like quickly grabs her bag off the corner of the bed, and this time she's only taking one bag, which is unusual for her, but she's kind of in a hurry, and slings it over her shoulder. It's already packed because her bags are always packed and ready to go. But as she's making her way to the door, her room is a complete and utter mess. Like there's like clothes all over the floor. Like she has only been there a couple nights, but it looks like she's lived there for months, and it's nasty. There's takeout boxes everywhere, literally everywhere. She has not cooked one meal, not gone out for one meal. Like it's just takeout boxes and clothes, and she almost trips but she catches her bag before the contents spill out and manages to go chasing after this airship.
You head straight back into Khan, the routes you know and the ways you head, following this airship as it whirs, and you see it starting to land. Now we have rolled, we are gifting a cipher. We've rolled a 2 again. The tool school. You gain a cipher. I will send you the information for it in
Thank you.
chat. So I will send that to you. It's called the Disruptor, I believe. So I will send that to you. Thank you, chat.
Toland's been doing some tinkering.
It actually works very, very well with you. So there you go. And now we're going to hop over to Reese. Where is Reese at this point after the absolute chaos after, visiting Carnan for less than 24 hours?
He probably just goes back to the beach where he met Tufa. Because he only knows 4 places and one of them exploded. So he probably just goes back to the beach where it's maybe calm and quiet.
You can sit on the beach for quite a while. You see Astra just sort of nestled down in the sand, and like she sort of, you can see around her snout and everything where she's laid down, there's those little like flecks of sand that are like hitting on all the fur around her muzzle and on her ears where she's rolled over at one point and probably rubbed her back in the sand. So she seems to be enjoying it. And you sit on this beach for a very long time. And would you sleep on the beach? Like, is that where you'd stay if you're used to sleeping outside? Or would you try and go somewhere else?
I think just because of how everything turned out, he would end up falling asleep on the beach, not necessarily intentionally, but just like knees drawn up, sitting, just watching the water till eventually he fell asleep that way.
Yeah, the water is just lapping up against the shore, and it creates this very soothing sound. This is a very sandy beach. You can see a few shells, like very sort of white and pink, pale colored shells that have washed up on the beach. There's some, you can see a few bits of sea glass that have washed up. And when the sun starts to come up the next day, it almost sparkles. The ocean sparkles. And the glass sort of reflects and gives this very odd color on the sand. But that's not what wakes you up. What wakes you up is a hand on your shoulder. And it's Jonathan. You're on the beach. You're not too far from their home. And he sort of rests his hand on his shoulder and taps it. He's like, Reese, right? As you see this badger sort of amble putts next to him, not as lively as it once was. And Jonathan is there with an arm in the sling. He looks battered and bruised down one side of his face and his shoulder. And you can see he's bandaged up quite a bit. And he's walking very slowly. He's like, it is Reese, right?
I think, I don't think Reese flinches, but there is a moment of like where his body tenses because he wasn't expecting to be touched or approached. And then he turns just a little to look over and yes.
Thank you. I would probably be dead right now if it wasn't for you. Yeah. And my husband may have been too.
I'm glad I could be there.
Do you drink coffee, tea, eat? Do you eat food?
Yes, Jonathan, I eat food and drink coffee.
Do you want to eat and drink coffee?
I think
because I'm cooking up some stuff, and you know, like Rickard's gone into the academy, so if you want, you know, want something to eat, I'm sure I can find something for. And sort of pauses and looks over this giant wolf again.
Astrid.
I got a ham. She likes ham, right?
I'm sure she would love it.
You can see her ears perk up at this, and she sort of makes to get to stand.
I think he'll do that. He doesn't stretch up, but he does stretch out. Yeah, that sounds nice, Jonathan. Thanks.
That's honestly no problem. And he it's a very slow walk back to the house. You can see he's sort of arching himself slightly, where you remember how damaged he was on the side where someone had stabbed him. And he's got his arm in a sling and he looks rough. He looks awful, basically. But you can see he's put on shirt, jeans, and he's got a waistcoat not buttoned up, fully open. It's just, you can probably guess he probably tried and it didn't work with one hand. And probably got dressed after Rickard left. And soon you arrive at that decking as he sort of walks up it, kicks the sand off of his shoes a little bit, doesn't bother to take his shoes off, and opens those back glass doors and walks in. And you can smell cooking. There's a lot of things cooking, actually. It's almost as if he'd spotted you earlier and may have been cooking beforehand. You can smell a ham in the oven. He sort of stood there, do you want coffee, tea, or I have orange juice. I do have orange juice, apple juice, cranberry juice. I have milk. And he just starts listing off all of this stuff. He's counting on his what seems to be broken arm as he's counting as he goes. He's like, and then I can do you eggs, bacon, toast, French toast. I do pancakes. I do these great mushrooms. And then he sort of stops and realizes you haven't said anything and looks up. He's like, all of it?
Whatever you're making's fine.
All of it. And he sort of starts shuffling over to the stove again, and you see him with one hand put this apron over, tie it round over the top of his arm, and he seems to move quite well with just one hand in the kitchen. And that smell of cooking bacon, cooking eggs, mushrooms, and this big, thick, like what my mum calls doorstop toast, where, you know, you could probably kill a duck with it. It's that proper sourdough, like okay, I'm gonna leave that metaphor. And it's this toast, and everything gets piled up on top of it, and then you're sat down at the table. Have you not seen About a Boy, Jay?
Kill a duck with it. Can we just stop for a moment and just contemplate? Kill a duck with it. Was that what you said?
Look.
I was so on board. I was having breakfast. It was delicious. The sun was coming up over the ocean. And then there's toast you can kill a duck with. I'm in. I'm all in. I'm totally done.
It's good bread. It's good damn bread, like sourdough bread. Which,
proper French toasting bread.
Yeah, like it's proper French. That does
Yes,
not kill
Boudet,
a duck.
yes. Texas toast.
Yeah, which does not kill a duck. But everything is piled up, and you now have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, a cup of orange juice, and milk, like around.
I was gonna say, while he's doing all that, Reese would have been like, okay, where do you keep the coffee? And he would be helping.
Yeah,
It's
you
in
could
his
see
nature
him
to
like
do that.
struggle with it, and he's like, oh yeah, no, you can pick from one of the 12 different blends up there. Ricard's very particular about his coffee.
Yeah,
Like,
he'll
what else I know.
he'll help, because it's just that's in his nature, I think, to just.
Yeah, you can see Astrid sits very happily, sort of watching, but suspiciously close to the oven at the same time. And there is a moment that you all sit down at this table. You're starting to wonder if Jonathan has actually made this whole ham for just Astrid. It seems to have been the case, as all he does is get it out the oven. He glazes it, but he does still just put it on a plate and put it on the floor for Astrid, sort of on the back step. And you see this badger in Narquate's eyes wide, just watching her devour this ham. It's just like, so does he, really. He's not used to this sort of creature.
Honestly, I think Reese probably stares a little too, because it's likely been a while since Astrid's been given anything this nice.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, she seems to like it. Right?
Yeah, you're gonna have a new best friend, Jonathan.
Oh, good. Oh, good. That's fantastic. And he looks pretty happy with himself as he tucks into like this mountain of food that he's made, and you can see him with like just cutting it with a knife and then stabbing it and eating it with this one hand. And you sit and you would you sit in silence, or would you chat? What would Reese do?
Reese would probably just sit in silence, because he's so used to being alone. He doesn't understand how to deal with people anymore.
Like, you can feel Jonathan's eyes on you. It's like he's watching you eat to see if it's making you happy, like it's something that you feel content with.
Yeah, I think he realizes enough to occasionally be like, thanks, this is, yeah.
And you can see him just smile and nod and realize he's staring and go back to like his own breakfast. And he looks at you and he's like, do you have a place to stay? And I don't mean the beach.
No, I never got that far into town before everything.
I mean, we've got a great sofa bed if you just need to kip for like a few nights. You just have to put up with, well, me, Ricard, gestures down towards like this badger, and Cornelius, remembering the giant tortoise in Archway, It's normally quite quiet here. You came at an interesting time.
Are you sure that's okay?
You kidding me? I love visitors and people who actually eat their food before wolfing it down and heading straight out the door. No pun intended, as he says, looking over at Astrid.
I think he'd, in between bites with that offer, he'd look over at Astrid and be like, what do you think? You want to stay here a day or two?
She sort of blinks at you slowly, looking very content with this ham that you can see her licking her lips as she's going round, and sort of looks back down and lays her head on the floor.
I think that's a yes.
Fantastic! I can get bed sheets. I've got pillows. It should all be absolutely fine. One thing though, just don't do. Rickard cannot stand it when someone fills out the quizzes in the back of the newspaper before him. Just so you know, done it multiple times. We have an argument. Sometimes I do it anyway.
Okay. That. Good to know.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, this is nice. This is nice. And he's sort of like, he seems to be relaxing a little bit more. And that is where we're going to take a short break. And we will be back in just a moment. So we will all see you in a bit. Bye. Oh, hi, we're back. And we're having breakfast with, I always said Mal, with Reese and Jonathan. As you are all sat there having this breakfast, and Astrid is now very, very content with this ham. She sort of, you can hear a light snore as she sort of licks like her muzzle in her sleep, still tasting this ham. And there's a moment where some of the crockery starts to shake on the table, almost that Jurassic Park thing. You see like the orange juice judder as you go, and Jonathan pauses with his fork. Good heavens, what is that? As you see coming over the sea, these huge airships. There seem to be about 3 of them coming in with this big golden honeycomb-like energy field almost protecting it around. And everything starts to shake as they go over. You see the sand whip up as these big propellers start just pulling up all of this sand. You see the sea sort of in certain places sort of spreading apart, and one of them seems to be actually landing on the beach. You see Jonathan run to the these back doors, closing them shut, sort of dragging Astrid in, who looks a little bit short, sort of longingly staring at this plate that she hadn't finished licking. As they sort of come in and closes the door, and you can hear that sort of as all this sand starts hitting the glass. And this is huge. It set itself down further by the beach, and you see lots of the lights flash on it, and so you hear the as that honeycomb disappears. And off of this airship, underneath, these stairs seem to roll out. Solid stairs, but they sort of magically seem to roll out of this, of the first platform. You see a few people walking down it. And in particular, there is a man at the front who stands very, very tall. He's not necessarily broad, but he has that presence of maybe importance or authority, but he stands very tall. He looks up, sort of left and right, hands behind his back as he looks down onto the sand, sort of looks down at his feet as they start to sink in the sand briefly with this soft sort of ground. You see him take a deep breath in as his chest sort of puffs out briefly, and lets go again. And you see a few people walking behind him. They seem to almost be, maybe he's in charge of them. They seem to fall behind him rather than walk with him. And this man has very, very dark skin, very piercing eyes, and it's almost like an ice white hair. Very neat, sort of shaved at the sides, and sort of this tiny, very neat sort of flop of ice white hair at the center. And you can see Astrid stand up and start just presses her nose against that glass as if she's trying to sniff through the glass since Jonathan has closed the doors. And as this man looks your way, you see that his eyes are the same color as his hair. And there's a moment where he looks over and sees Jonathan up against the window, who is looking out, gives a bit of a smile and holds his hand up to wave, and you see a huge mechanical arm as he waves and gives a bit of a smile. And this Inarque pads out behind him and sits by his feet. And it's a huge, what looks to be like a lynx, with this very long sort of fluff on the end of the ears. But it moves in it's sort of a purplish glow, and it sits very proudly, almost like its human companion. And seeing people over there, he starts to walk towards, and you see this Inarque pad next to him. No footprints show in the sand. And he walks up the platform as Jonathan slowly opens the door.
Yeah, I think as Jonathan's closing the doors against the sand, Reese is up there with him, and that knife's already out in his hand because he's just like, ugh, can't even get like 12 hours without shit happening. And I think there's a moment where he looks at Jonathan, he's just like, I thought you said it's quiet around here.
He's like, it is. Normally, I don't know who that is. And he sort of like gestures, and you see this badger sort of mimicking its other half, like pressed up against the window. This man walks forward in a very smart uniform, sort of buttoned down the front, navy blue, collar up, and he smiles. He says, good evening, morning, what time is it? And he sort of like looks up at the sky and goes, fantastic. Hello, I'm sorry for intruding on your space. We will be moving shortly. We just need to question, how do I get to the city center? I'm great at navigating the skies. Put me in the middle of a city. Shot.
Why do you want the city center?
I have a meeting. Well, you see like 6 men and women stood behind him, sort of giving you almost that half-side wave as they're looking over you, mainly looking at Astrid, who is like glaring at them through the glass. It's fine. He sort of looks down at your knife. He's like, I can see we have interrupted breakfast and you obviously take it quite seriously. So if it's going to be a problem, you can hear a slight tang in his accent and you recognize it as Valadrian. And he smiles. He's like, if you
How
could
far
just
away
point
is
us...
that?
It's by boat, it's probably about a 2-week voyage, but probably by airship it's not going to be as long at all. Maybe a day.
I mean, a day by airship, 2 weeks by boat, that's still quite a ways. So I think, you know what, because I have it here anyway, my toy knife, I think Reese just slips it back in his sleeve. And he just looks at Jonathan like, feel like going for a ride?
And he looks at you, he's like, I didn't bring enough eggs. I thought it was only you coming.
No, I'm new in town, but you're obviously pretty far from home.
That would be right. Which is why if you could just point me in the right direction, I will be on my way. Can I leave my ship here?
Reese looks at Jonathan like...
And Jonathan's like, I mean, it's a free beach. Oh, fantastic. This is wonderful. And he sort of looks like, your house is so lovely. And he sort of walks in. So if you could just point me in the right direction, I will head off over there now. I'm looking for some of my other companions as well. You know, there's been a lot of disruption here, so we're here to sort it out.
I can show you the way. It's not that much further.
Fantastic! Come on then! And he's always like, does she bite? Like, it sort of looks down at Astrid. As you can see this lynx, like, they're like almost nose to nose as this lynx puts its ears down and is sort of looking at Astrid.
And when he asks, does she bite, I think Reese is just like, yes. Because it's been a long...
Okay, Pia.
24 hours.
Pia, come away. Like, and you see this lynx just sort of slink off back behind this man. And he's like, so, shall we go then? I can leave my men with the ship, it's fine. You know, if we have to move it or there's not like a charge or anything, is there?
And I think Reese gathers up his bag, which is probably right near the table anyway. And he just pauses long enough to look at Jonathan, and he's feel up for going for a walk.
I could take Rickard lunch. And he sort of moves over and starts scooping into like this like container, whatever's left of breakfast. As he starts like closing it up. You see him sort of slide a coat on one side and just put it over the other shoulder. Puts this lunch in a satchel, slings it over. So it's like, okay, I'm ready. Such welcoming people. As this man with this, he holds out this huge mechanical arm and holds it out to shake. Axel Cartwright, it's fantastic to meet you.
Reese Blackash. And this is Jonathan. That's Astrid.
Ah, that's a red wolf, isn't it?
Yes.
Haven't seen one of those in a long time.
We're pretty far from home, too.
Seems it. Come on then, off we go. And he sort of starts marching back out the door. You can hear him shout some orders towards the men and women that are also in the uniforms. And they sort of give him a quick salute and they turn around and start heading back to the airship as you all start walking into town. And we're going to hop back over, I will say it right this time, Florence. And Florence, you are stood there with this woman in the doorway, and she smiles at you. It's a very warming, very happy smile, but she's in this very smart white suit, and this huge bird in archway seems to settle on her shoulders. It seems to be like a magpie, but it looks larger than a magpie. It looks to be pretty big. And it sort of like tips its head every now and then as it looks at you and looks up at all the letters. You can see every now and then as one flutters past, you see it sort of, its claw goes out and then doesn't catch anything. Almost if it's looking. It's like, hello. You're apparently the one who's delivering my letters.
That is correct. Yes. Before I can do that, I of course need you to fill out some paperwork. This is the post office, after all.
Absolutely.
So, how should I address you? Your name is.
Oh, my name is Elizabeth Moret, but you can call me Liz. Most people do.
Liz. All right. So you'll fill out these forms. Don't worry, if you press hard enough, it'll automatically make them in triplicate. One for you, one for our records, one to go out with the mail. So don't let me stop you and let me know if you have any questions.
Of course, thank you. And she sort of moves this scarf and this long sort of white suit out of the way as she just sits herself down on one of the chairs and starts writing out straight away. And she hums to herself a little bit as she does. And she smiles. And you can see her sort of a very elegant handwriting as she comes to the end and just dots. That should be everything you need.
Is there a, when's the, and she'll take a look at the forms, make sure they pressed through all the way to the back form, and see if she has any questions. Does Florence recognize where they're going? Would she, and when they need to get there by? I know it's urgent.
Could you roll me an intellect check, please?
Yes, I will do so at advantage. Thank you to the wonderful folks.
Okay. You look down at these papers. You look at her general look, and you see that her eyes have a slightly white tinge to them. The actual irises are slightly icy in looking. And you can see this very bright red hair. She sort of flips it aside and gives you a bit of a smile. And you see what she signed off as a member of something you recognize. It's something called the Company. And there's a long pause where she looks and smiles at you. Are you local to Carnan?
Well, it depends on how local. I'm recently local. I've been here for 2 and maybe 3 years at this point. You lose track of time.
Of course. And she sort of smiles. She's like, I can spot someone from where you're from very easily. And she sort of smiles. And it's a very friendly smile. Like she's trying to be friendly, but maybe it comes across as quite questioning. But you're guessing maybe she doesn't actually know how to do that. And she's like, I'm here on behalf of the company. And she pushes some letters forward, each with a wax seal stamp on it. And there's a moment where you cast your eyes down and look to the symbol, which again you recognize. It's not necessarily a huge thing that you've seen a lot of, but you recognize it. It's the image of an eye with 3 towers coming out of the top of it and some vines, sort of, so almost like a wreath or something around that, and 2 keys crossing. I'm here on behalf of the company, and if you could send these to who they need sending to, I would be truly grateful. I'm afraid I have other business to attend to, otherwise I would have done it in person myself.
Oh, no worries at all. This is my job, and I wanted to bring you back here. You can see how seriously we take getting the mail where it's supposed to go.
Absolutely.
You certainly are far from home. I don't think the company does too much work over here.
No, not until your latest incident in Karnan, no. But we come to have a look, see what's going on, and hopefully set some things straight.
I think at that, Florence, her demeanor kind of falls as she remembers the screaming and the commotion and the explosion, and she just taps the paper with her hand and goes, right, yes, of course, hopefully I'm sure y'all will be able to help set it right. Now I can escort you back to the front, and I will make sure these get on their way.
That would be fantastic. We're here to help and find out what on earth has been going on, because this is ridiculous, if I'm honest. And you see that flash where this sort of bird in Arcway flaps its wings a little bit, and she smiles. Thank you very much. I do have a meeting I need to get to. I also need to find one of my traveling companions. I don't know where he is. He was never good with directions in a city. So I will go and try and locate him. Otherwise, please make sure these are delivered today. I have put on the priority there. Thank you very much. And she sort of turns and starts to show herself out. You can hear Teddy sort of, his forced polite voice when you hear it. And it is very, very good. Like, you most people wouldn't know it was forced. And you hear that bell ring, and there's sort of whispers amongst some of the people that are still in the post office. You look down at these letters, and you recognize some of the names. They're on your normal postal route. There's the attention of, you recognize Averick's name, you recognize Tolan Folk, Oapaka, and strangely, there is one you definitely recognize, which is, you recognize the address before the name of this little old lady called Agatha, because at Christmas she always gives you biscuits. But there's also one that has no address on, and it just says Reese Blackash. And there's a slight glow to this letter.
Florence kind of looks especially at the one that doesn't have an address and just kind of sighs and even smiles a little bit. Teddy, you always have a way of giving me these ones.
Well, like, you're the best at it.
Oh,
and then I don't have to deal with it.
Right, and she realizes she's been rifling through these for so long that she didn't even notice Teddy kind of come into the area.
Yeah, he's quite stealthy when he wants to, but he moves quite quietly without meaning to.
So the good news is those are the letters you were talking about earlier. I guess I'll do just what I told you I'd do and start heel-toeing it.
My gosh, please, just get it done and then they'll stop calling me. And he sort of again turns around. It's like, hang on a minute. God, customers. And he sort of looks around and picks up one of the what looks to be like a stamp and pad set as he picks it up and starts walking back out. He's like, just get that done and finish the shift for today. I'll send Rebecca out with your normal post. She needs to get some practice in anyway. Plus, I don't think she can take much more of some of these customers today.
We all need a break from that, and just for you, I'll put an extra $1 in the swear jar before I head out.
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of empty. Like, he looks at his wallet that's upside down, and you can see about 4 or 5 pennies in this swear jar that weren't in there when before you saw this woman.
Your next couple are on me.
I need it. And he sort of starts like wandering back out as you see Quincy, this little Anarquay, sort of shuffle out after him on like 2 hind legs, that little parcel sort of clasped in his tiny little paws. And you can weave your way out of the post office. And when I say weave, there is still a crowd. It started off as a queue and now it's just kind of a mass. And you head out through, it's very small doors to this post office, considering how big the building is. You know that Teddy actually has to duck underneath this door. This is a very old building. As you sort of duck out and under, you're almost immediately on the shoreline. There's lots and lots of rocks on this man-made island. You see all the gondolas out. You can see so many of the other like the younger, like the kids that run the deliveries, like their paper rounds on the days off. Some of them are climbing in the gondola with an older postal service person because they're not allowed to use the boats on their own. But you can see all of these gondolas like bobbing up and down in the water. Some of them stacked high with like newspapers, letters, parcels, you know, that sort of thing.
So I think Florence, she kind of has her satchel across her shoulder. She grabbed it on the way out, and she's kind of rifling through those letters again and trying to figure out what's the right order. Like, she knows the city and the streets really well, and I think at this point we actually see her look over her shoulder and we hear a really soft squeaking sound from behind her back, and there is Clutch. She's wearing, as a part of her uniform, imagine like a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout bandana with a little symbol of the post office, and it goes in a triangle point down her back. And there's a little bat in Aquay clutching its feet to the edge of the fabric, and it pokes its head up and to the side, and they kind of lock eyes. And Florence goes, "Oh, all right, Biddy, which one do you think we should deliver first?"
And there's that gentle sort of squeak that only you seem to be able to hear. It's a little bit of a squeak, and you sit there and you devise this order where you tend to go to Aggie last because sometimes she pulls you in for a cup of tea and you need to deliver things. Normally, it seems to be like Averick, and then it tends to be whoever is making their way towards Aggie. So Tolan's second to last. This Pollard's one, you've mainly seen probably the name of someone else with her last name that letters seem to go to there. And there is no address for Reese. Oh, thank you for the donation of all of the advantages. Thank you so much.
Right, I guess I'll get to this one whenever I get to it. And I think she goes to the letters one more time, and she sees that wax seal. Has she seen the seal of the company while she's been working here at the post office?
Whilst you've been working at the post office, you have seen one letter. There has never been more than one. There was just this one letter that it confused the magic stream, and that's why it fell into sort of like your big like letter bucket. But otherwise, you've never seen it here in Carnum before.
Florence she's thinking back to that one time she got the letter from the company, and she's kind of kicking herself in the butt for not doing the thing she had wanted to do when she saw that letter. She resisted her worst impulses and didn't do it. But it's been a while, and she just can't help herself. And so I think Florence is going to start walking down this path she's created in her head for delivering the letters. But the moment she finds a spot where she can kind of duck away, and it's private in an alleyway, she's going to do what she does best.
You may open the letters.
Paula is going to absolutely.
I need you to roll. I'll let you choose either an intellect check or a speed check to make sure you don't break these seals. Special. You can have. I would say. I will make the difficulty lower if you can describe to me how you do it.
Oh yeah. So they're all wax seals, right?
They are wax seals. Very old, sort of like that, like almost a yellowish paper around the edges. Not from being old, but you think it's probably a very nice, use very thick paper, and you can definitely smell almost like it's not a perfume, but there's a definite fragrance to it.
So Florence, she kind of has the tools of her trade in her letters bag, but they're obviously disguised as being just mail carrier's tools. She goes to this, I guess, alleyway where it's quiet and calm, and she takes the first letter, and I think she starts to first breathe really hotly on the wax seal to get it loosen itself a little bit from the paper. And then she pulls just a regular like letter opener, nothing to write home about, from the packet, and she just ever so gently slides it underneath that wax seal. The goal is, of course, to pop it off.
Mm-hmm.
And this way she can re-close it when she's done.
Roll me either a speed or intellect check, depending if you're doing it fast or really, if you're really thinking about it, like how you're doing it. I would say intellect.
I think Florence actually has kind of almost clumsy fingers, so she's not really dexterous, but whenever she has time to like sit and think about how to do something, that's when she can do it well. So definitely intellect.
Okay, roll for me, please.
I will also use advantage for this.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it's like you've done it before. So you slowly like manage to, as you stand after you've got on, you've traveled on that gondola through into the main city. You've come out to the bit you've always come out. It's a fairly quiet bit. You know, there's lots of winding alleyways, and you manage to get it, sort of pull yourself up against one of the walls to have a look, and you can take the letter out. Are you doing this to all of them?
Yes.
Okay. So,
or I imagine first she does it to the first one,
uh-huh,
and then she won't be able to stop.
You manage to open these envelopes, and they're very neatly written, and you recognize the handwriting is from this same woman that you met in the post office, and each one is a almost very professional written letter requesting the attendance of each individual who was there to the main city, Valadria in Valadris, for not questioning, but to hear their side of the story as to what has happened in Karnan, as there seems to be time. I can hear everything. You requesting attendance to ask what happened, as a fair few people have witnessed, maybe. There seems to be a sort of movement around this that people seem to think certain people are linked to this.
Does it do the letters describe in any amount of detail what actually happened? Because I think right now what Florence knows is really nothing. It was scary, it was loud, and no one seems to know the truth yet.
And there doesn't seem to be a lot of information on what happened, but you know of Valadria. You may have even visited it. You know that this location, they are very big on resources. They particularly knowledge. They are a group of people, the company, that believe in science and magic, and that no one should be restricted just because they're a magic user, or if they're a non-magic user, that knowledge is for everyone. So they like to get to learn things. And you also know from stuff, they don't particularly get on with the church, which is why they're not always in Carnum, because they don't like the idea of being against magic users. They're not a fan. In fact, they make a point of a lot of the heads of the company are magic users. Thank you for that. Another advantage to Florence from Friday. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So Florence, I think, rolls around all of this information in her head, and I think she reads the letters a second and then a third time. And then after, I think, committing some of the boilerplate language that the company used to memory, she begins the slow, careful process of resealing all of the letters, making it, to the best of her ability, look like the postal office did not commit any crimes with them.
No crimes. And the one thing you do also see on the letter that I forgot to mention is that they have each also been offered a route on the airship. They have around 3 to 4 days before the airships leave. Otherwise, they make their own way to Valadris. And you can head off into town, into the city. You can see the season tree. You see these huge zeppelins overhead, which you've seen before, maybe briefly, from where you are from. You've seen them hover overhead. There doesn't tend to be a lot of them. You remember hearing about how it was the new amazing thing, this new great thing, a great mode of transport. We no longer need to go by boat. We've got this new fast way of going. It was all the rage for a bit, and now it's calmed down a little bit. But you can see one of them has landed closer to where the church was. People are it's almost like people have forgotten part of the church, seeing these huge airships taking land. Some of them are hovering over this landed one in the air, don't seem to be making any move to land themselves. There's still some of this debris hovering, as you see, and you can see that sort of purplish glow, that, and almost like a static, like electricity, like if it's sort of moving around some of these bits of debris. As you head into the city, and it gets busier and busier, businesses still seem to be open. They still seem to be going about their daily business. Some people have left their shops to go and have a look at what the hell is going on. But you can smell all the food, you can hear all the chatter as it's going. And you head into the main square, where Tolan, Averick has dragged you, and you have seen this huge airship land. And he looks excited, like he hasn't let go. And then when he does, he's like slapping you, like, look at it, look at it, look at it. What is that? Look at it. That's insane.
People would have said the same thing about the trams when they first saw those through the city. I was there.
Yeah, but I wasn't. This is new for me.
Yeah, this is very exciting.
It is.
However,
right.
So how many different artifacts can you point out for the different functions of that? You've got something to keep it in the air. You've got something to keep steering, some type of navigation has to be on board as well.
Well, there's got to be something. I mean, it's a giant balloon. There's got to be something sturdy. And what if it hits like a storm or something?
That's a good point. There's got to be some kind of stabilization. So stop thinking small inventions, then just make them bigger.
Apparently
A
so.
lot bigger. And also remember, you've got no direct connection to the earth or to magic, so it has got to be absolutely ironclad, persistent. You wouldn't want one of those dropping out of the sky, now would you?
I mean, it could be problematic.
It looks
Hello,
yes,
Raiders.
Problematic.
I mean, it could be problematic. I wouldn't advise it. I mean, the trams were bad enough.
Right.
But look at it. Look at that. It's so shiny, I guess. Like, look at it. And it's wearing away and it's landing. I wonder who's on it. Like, and
with
he's
my
trying
little
to look
bit
around.
with my little bit of contact with Philadris, could I like recognize some telltale things of the construction, or like almost like the architecture of it that would point me that it would be Valadrin?
You would definitely tell it's Valadrian.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because it's a very ornate sort of. There's a lot that's gone into the look of this as well. It's not just functional. This is meant to be a bit of a show, and you may not have heard of the company, but you will have seen the symbol.
Right.
As it is, it's not very big, but it is carved into the side, almost in a circular motion.
So Tolan, sort of in this weird nostalgic place, so he sort of starts in teacher mode. So Averick, look at all the embellishment on it.
Right.
A lot of that is not just for magic. There's a lot of that that's just folderol. Who do we know who loves to make things overly ornate?
Valadrians, every single time it's a show. I mean, that's great. Like, I love it, but they can't just
did its job, right?
I mean, they always love to make an entrance,
Well, and see that symbol up there? I don't know exactly who they are. I've only seen it once or twice before, but they've always been connected with some of the most fantastic, intricate things.
Like,
he almost starts going into their excitement about the artifact they found that caused the accident, and he just sort of catches himself, and a little bit of a darkness falls across him, but then he, I think, gets caught back up in Averick's excitement.
Averick is like wide-eyed, staring in wonderment. Even Clyde has stopped, and it's just not the ones that have landed, but the ones that are above, just drifting. He's just watching them go backwards and forwards, nose like sniffing here and there. You do see, again, you can tell it's definitely, I guess, a showy sort of look. You recognize the Valadrian style straight away as a very tall, red-haired, short-bobbed, red-haired woman, very striking red lipstick and a sharp, like almost white suit and long scarf to match strides through the crowd, as if like no one else was in the street. She just walks through everyone heading towards the airship.
There's someone who's in charge. He sort of nods over towards this lady who obviously, everyone else I assume is kind of being a tourist, and she seems to be.
Yeah, you see phones coming out. Like, you see some phones coming out. You see people just staring in wonder. And she strolls through as if it's nothing at all. Like, who is she? Do we go talk? Do we do that? Do we just talk to people?
No. This is where we observe.
Right, okay.
See what's going on. Put together the pieces. We need to know what we're dealing with here. Obviously, what happened, and he sort of nods towards the church without looking at it, too much. Obviously, what happened has made an impression big enough for this type of response.
Well, I mean, I'm going to get closer. And at this point, Polo, you're running. You're running as you were sprinting away from this this motel. And you're in your zone. You're running, you're towards this. Matthias has told you to get photos, get information, we want something. And Averick is in wonderment, not really looking where he's going, and you kind of collide. Not like harsh, you don't fall over, but you sort of bump into each other, and Averick looks at you, he's like, Paula, hey! Like, he sort of looks, because he hasn't seen you since the dance studio, he's like, you're all in one piece!
I am, in fact, in one piece, and I am somehow not surprised to see you running in the same direction as me.
I mean, no, like, Tolan! Like, and he's sort of, like, gesturing over to Tolan, it's like, Paula!
Oh,
Paula.
hi. Good to see you're well.
Yes. Interesting couple days.
To say the least. But I'm assuming you guys are going to check out this crazy contraption from the sky?
I was planning on standing back and observing, but it seems that that's not what everyone else's plan is.
And Averick is, like, beelining. He's moving through the crowd.
Talon, you must know better by now. And Paula's, like, following right behind Averick.
Tolan is kind of staying where he is, but kind of keeping an eye to see how much trouble they're going to get themselves into.
Yeah, you can, so are you following them at a distance, or are you...
Again, I'm trying to keep a good wide angle of, again, Tolan is seeing this, not just the airship as a machine, but almost the incident at the church to this response. You know, he's like, okay, what gears are moving? So he's kind of like, there's this lady, this symbol of the company that he doesn't know what it is, but he's seen it a couple times attached to very high-end magics. In fact, something he inspired, you know, things that inspired him almost as much, maybe even as much as Edric did, the things that came with sort of, that were attributed to the company. You know, the fact that these ships are now here, there's this lady, Paula, there's, you know, he's still got this piece of, you know, Paula being Edric's daughter that he knows now. So he's keeping a wide view. So I don't know if he's necessarily following them as much as just tracking them.
Well, you can keep an eye on them for sure.
Yeah.
Like, you can watch them through the crowd. You normally see people like parting, sort of, like, as like, because that means, you know, Clyde is probably leading the way more than anything.
It's probably easiest to keep on.
You can see people sort of move out of the way. You see sort of Paula Bob in between the crowd with Averick just in front as you head forward. There's a moment, Paula, as you're moving through the crowd and you get a closer look at this huge airship, and it is huge. You see it looks as if it's made to look like it's carved out of wood, but it's definitely not wood. This is another material, or maybe it's reinforced with magic or something. But this is, I guess, what you would almost put across, almost like a cruise type of thing. With, you can see lots of windows all the way along the edges. It looks like it's set out to be luxurious as well as for efficiency. And steps have rolled down, and you see a few people in these very smart navy blue uniforms, high collar, walk out. Most of them seem to have very, very striking eyes, and their hair is, you can see a mixture of, there is one lady that is behind who seems to be in almost like a pilot's jacket. It's very, very smart. It's like a smart version, but you can see a set of goggles on her head with all of these little weird gadgets and like buttons and stuff all the way down the side, and she's got this tan skin, and again this very white hair, and it's sort of all flopped to one side and held in a long plait. As she stands very upright, holds herself very well, and she nods as each person comes off of the ship and smiles into the crowd. There doesn't seem to be anything too weird about this. And Averick looks at you, he's like, okay, right, here's the deal. Valadrians like to show off. It's just what they do most of the time. Some of them not so much, but definitely if they're from Valadria, they're going to want to show off. So that's what this is. I mean, they're not making an entrance like this for no reason. Is he sort of like trying to look over the crowd?
Well, I don't mind it. It's beautiful. I mean, and they're beautiful. I mean, the ship, the people. Oh my gosh. And Paulus is breaking a sweat.
And like Averick sort of chuckles to himself. He's like, I mean, don't you just want to go on one of those things? Like, what does it look like from up there? Like,
oh my gosh. And the places it'll go and
like
the sea. And
I hear they can do a week's journey in half a day. I don't know what it is they put into it, but I had some guy back there muttering about something. I mean, it might be a lie. I don't know. But it looks...
We need to get on that shit. One way or another.
You want to get on it?
I mean, is there another option?
I mean, I haven't really been exploring for many years. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't mind seeing what's on that ship. I mean, we can ask, right?
Should we wait to see if Talon wants to come?
Talon's not gonna want to come.
Okay, we should just get on the ship.
I mean, we should probably tell him, but we'll tell him as we're getting on.
I'll
send him a message. I'll send him a message.
Yes.
Sort of a pause, and Talon, you can see them both sort of really chatting to each other as this is happening.
This can't be good news.
And they look very happy, like ecstatic, and you can see Clyde jumping up and down as this happens. Reese, you are heading into this square too, and you can see Jonathan sort of clap his hands together, just like, oh, well, would you look at that? Like, it's sort of like just looking at this massive airship that has just landed. You may have seen one in your lifetime because they're fairly new. Maybe it drifted over in the skies, but you've never seen it up close. Maybe you've looked up into the sky and gone, what the hell is that? Like, it's never been something you have seen close up, and they move so fast. And this man with the ice white hair, that short cropped haircut, and those very piercing, almost white eyes looking through as Axel Cartwright, who goes, fantastic, thank you, my friend, you have brought me to the center of the city. I've never found it without you. And he gives you this really hefty slap on the back, like it's you don't think it was meant to be harsh, but because you were maybe in awe, you weren't quite as solid on your feet as you realized. He's like, so this is me. I wonder where everyone else... I probably should have parked here. As he sort of looks up into the sky at these other airships. He's like, thank you. Maybe I will see you around. I know we're here for a few days. Ta-ra. And he sort of like moves off to go. And Jonathan stands there next to you, looks at you. Valadrians. It's always Valadrians.
We're gonna need the whiskey when we get back to your place.
God, they always make a show of everything when they go in. Rickard loves them. Absolutely loves everything. Anything that's like detailed, hugely scientific, you name it. I mean, I just like the simple life, you know? I want my eggs and my toast and my mushrooms and my bacon and my orange juice and my milk and my tea and my coffee. And he just starts like listing these things off as he's looking up at this ship. So, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I mean, to fly, that's an amazing thing, but all the faff that goes with it. You know?
Valadrians.
Like, they sort of like have this mutual nod with each other. As you can see people getting excited. You can see just over to the sort of the left, a bit further, maybe about 40 feet away, you can see Talon. Looks mildly worried as he's looking into the crowd. But you can see him, and Jonathan looks over and goes, isn't that your friend?
I don't know that we're Yeah, after what happened, we're probably friends.
Yeah,
He
I haven't
looks
even
worried.
asked that yet. Doesn't he always look worried?
I don't know. I've known him for a day.
Oh, me too. I just got the feel of it. You know?
That's
That
probably
feel.
true then.
Let's go say hi. And he sort of starts like wandering off. And Dolan, you do see that person, you recognize Jonathan as he's sort of half like leaning over because he's in pain. He's bandaged up basically down all one side. And you can hear Tolan as he waves, and you can probably see Reese in the
What are
background.
you doing out? You look terrible.
I bet you say that to all the pretty people. So, I wanted to come and see this. Valadrians, yeah.
Yeah.
So it sort of pauses. And there's this mutual, again, this smile of, yeah. Reese and I just had breakfast.
I had tea and porridge.
Oh, like for starters, or?
The cabinets were bare. I haven't made it to do any shopping in the last couple days.
Jonathan, you should share some of the lunch for Ricard.
Do you want some lunch? It's good lunch. I made it myself. You can have some. And he sort of leans in and he's like this. He's like, I always bring like spare Tupperware because, you never know when Ricard's awkward. It's fine. I never know what's going to come through. And like you can see him sort of like putting some of the breakfast into another smaller Tupperware, closing it, and just holds it out with his good hand.
I think probably as soon as you open it, the smell of this delicious breakfast food just hits Tolan, and just at first he was going to be like, I don't think this is the time or the place. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I put some extra there should be some squares of fried halloumi on top, but I just leave it there, probably cold now, but I think they're great. So
these mushrooms are very good.
Thank you. And he sort of looks over at Reese, like very happy with himself that someone else likes his breakfast.
Yes. Well, I was trying to keep an eye on things. I'm sure this is in response to the events of a few nights ago.
Absolutely. And you can see, like, Jonathan is now tucking into what is supposed to be Ricard's lunch because he's handed it to you. Like, absolutely. I mean, I know they always make an entrance, but to rock up like this, more than one, something's going on.
Is that a thermos? Does it have
yeah.
coffee?
Coffee or tea.
Oh, coffee would be lovely.
Okay, yep. And he
I
sort of reaches.
I can only know how to make tea myself very well. Usually I go to Avric's for coffee. I tend to always get it too strong or too weak or too sludgy.
Oh, it's fine. Like I got extra. And he sort of pulls it out, and you can see like this bag is not full of anything but food, drink, and everything. There's nothing in there. There might be a wallet in there, but you're not too sure.
Yeah. So Paula and Averick, speaking of, they're plotting something. I can tell. I can see it from here. I know that look. They're up to no good. But
well, if Paula's anything like her uncle or her father, probably a good thing to worry about.
Most likely. I'm trying to keep an eye on all of it at once to figure out exactly what this is. What do you know of that symbol? I've seen it on other inventions before, but I've always been impressed by their work and their inventions.
No. That's you can see him like awkwardly, like half resting. This Tupperware and got like a fork like in these eggs and this bit of halloumi that's coming out as he takes a bite. That's the company. I haven't seen them in here for like.
Oh, that's their actual.
I have seen them.
That's their actual name. I thought people were just referring to them and they had a real name, but
no, they say it's for ease. They just call themselves the company.
Oh, so well, I guess I sort of knew who they were, but I didn't recognize that was in fact their name. So I'm assuming, wouldn't you think this has to do with what's happened to the church and with those guardians? And we had a hell of a night.
I suppose you did, didn't you? I was passed out for most of it, but from
Well, you almost died. How are your wounds? I did my best. I'm not really a surgeon, more of a tinkerer, but I claim I got everything.
Oh, it's just a scratch. It's all good. It's all good. And here, my
Your
good
guts were
friend.
lying on the. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this while we're having lunch.
And he sort of pauses and he rests a hand on Reese's shoulder. He's like, plus, this man is the man who found me as well.
Yeah, it says, yeah.
Right, Roomy? And he sort of does that awkward, like, punch to the side of his arm.
Yeah, Reese is in the middle of packing his pipe as they're talking and eating, and he's just like puffing on it as he gets another slap on the shoulder, like, yep.
I'm glad we didn't scare you off completely.
I had nowhere to go. I went back to the beach.
Oh, the beach is nice this time of year. Trying to find something nice to say that he didn't invite him and has no intention of inviting him to come to his house.
It was calm and quiet. It was nice.
Calm and quiet is, yeah.
And now you're stood in this crowd of people that is currently going manic.
I love the fact that we basically are just tucking in, standing in a circle. Well, shall we try to see what all is going on? That lady in white seems to be quite in charge of things. I haven't seen anyone else who seems quite as official yet.
We have, haven't we? We have. He sort of looks over to
yes,
Reese as
we
he's got a
met.
mouthful.
Axel was his name, I believe. Axel Cartwright.
Good name.
He has a mechanical hand. I think you'd be very interested.
Wait, like he's good at doing mechanical things, or he has
like he's got a mechanical hand, Tolan.
Tolan's eyes just sparkle.
Yeah, that's what I thought would happen.
Built Averick's leg. Interesting. Yes, I would very much like to meet and speak with. By any chance, did you notice, was he a magic user? Did he have an Aquae?
Yeah, he did.
Fascinating.
Big one. Sorry, shouldn't talk my mouthful.
Oh. No worries. Yes, I'd very much like to meet this Axel Cartwright. How did you meet him? And you said you were at the beach.
He landed on the beach, wanted directions to the center of town. To this, I would presume.
More of these.
Yeah.
He didn't want breakfast, though.
I mean, we didn't really offer.
I didn't bring enough eggs. As he's literally like shoveling the last. You can see him finishing off the last of whatever's in this Tupperware.
Well, shall we see? He kind of looks to Reese. I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to get entangled in another Paula and Averick adventure.
I don't know that they're gonna. He was looking over at them. I don't know that they're gonna give you a choice.
Would Paula be moving through the crowd with Averick right now? Would she have made a point to at least go and try to talk to the people?
Oh, I think Paula is trying to like keep a low profile and definitely working her way through the crowd. She's like flexible. She's able to like get around people and kind of dip under people's arms.
My only question is, where's Clyde as she's being subtle?
Yeah, Paula can be subtle, like you're slightly off to the side. However, just along the left-hand side of you, you do see people being almost shoved out the way as Clyde just strolls through this crowd. Averick seems to be following him because he's clearing a path, so he doesn't seem too bothered by it as he just strolls through. Every now and then you hear, sorry, like as you go past. And you can see this woman in a white suit with a bob of bright red hair and lipstick to match, and she is greeted by this very tall man, like lean, strong though, not broad, just lean, and you see a huge mechanical arm as he reaches out to offer his to hers, which she takes, and he smiles, he pulls it, he gives her a kiss on each cheek. It seems like a very just a friendly sort of relationship. smile and nod to each other, and he holds out his arm as he leads her towards the rest of the group. And Florence, you have arrived in this group, this massive just crowd of people, and these airships have landed, and you see some of these people filing out in these smart uniforms, this navy blue, not like the woman, but you can see her who seems to be talking to some of the people that has just come off of this, I guess, airship, Zeppelin type thing. And could you make an intellect check for me, please? Okay. You feel like there is a warmth in your hand amongst the letters. And it's like there's a tug.
I think maybe Florence almost doesn't realize it, but Biddy kind of unclings from the back of the fabric that Biddy's hanging onto, and Biddy's usually pretty calm, but Biddy will kind of like fly up and then swoop down, and I think kind of nose at the bag and at the letters, and that'll kind of like snap Florence back to attention, and she'll notice that warmth, and she'll look at the letter.
Is that warmth, and the sort of satchel of your bag looks like something's trying to push it open, almost just like something's trying to get out.
Florence will look very curiously at that and kind of open the bag and investigate.
Almost immediately as you open the bag, that letter that glows, that one with the name Reese Blackash, sort of written out, shoots up into the air and starts to drift into the crowd, as it's almost like it's following a channel.
Wait, no, Biddy, go get it. We're supposed to. I don't know if it's helping us deliver it, but we can't lose that.
And you can follow. Can you roll me a speed check to try keep up with it in the crowd, please?
Yes.
Yeah, you it's using a lot of elbows, but you're having to get through. It's more that this little bat in Archway sort of weaves faster than you as it goes overhead, sort of every now and then, which is probably a rude thing, but some people don't seem to notice. This bat goes incorporeal and goes straight through someone also, and you can see people sort of jump or have that shiver go down their spine, not too sure exactly what's going on. But there's a moment as you watch this, it's almost as if it's caught on a wind, but you know that's not what this is. You can see a heat to it, you can see a slight glow to it as this envelope weaves in between people. People don't really seem to notice. You see one kid notice and watch it go, sort of try and reach out, but completely miss it as you come past. And as you do, it seems to come to a halt around someone. And there are 3 men eating. Well, one of them smoking a pipe. There's 2 of them that seem to be tucking into what looks like breakfast. And there is a huge red wolf who is the only one really looking up at this letter as it sort of hovers by this person, sniffing at it, sort of like looking up, just noticed it. And it falls onto the floor by the feet.
I think right as the letter is like hitting the ground, Florence is like, Biddy swooped down and kind of just misses grabbing it with her little claws and like shoots back up as Florence almost careens into maybe the back of Reese, and she like leans over, is kind of like huffing and puffing. This is like, whew, I am not built for speed. Okay. She like tries to grab for the letter. I apologize for hello, and she'll wave. My name is Florence. I'm a postal service worker for the city. Hello, and she's trying to get the attention of the people in this group.
Jonathan does turn around and like, oh, hello. Like he just sort of like turns around as he's finishing off this breakfast. He's like, "Are you talking to me?"
I'm speaking to, is there a Reese Blackash in the group?
And sort of literally just taps you again on the shoulder, Reese.
I think he's in the middle of like reaching down to the ground to pick up the letter because he probably noticed this thing flying around and then a bat swooped by and he's just like, oh, what the hell is going on today?
And now there's a woman just like, hello? Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah,
is for you.
How did anyone know I was here?
A funny thing, the mail. It always gets delivered when you're in Carnan.
Okay.
Don't worry, I got used to it eventually too.
Do you work for the post office?
She like squints her eyes at him, and she's got like an emblem of the post office on her chest. She's got a bright like gold pin on her hanky. Her belt buckle is also a pin. She's carrying a letter carrier's bag, and she just goes, "Why, yes, I do, Mr. Blackash. Can I need you to sign? Can I have you sign this? This letter was delivered with quite a bit of importance, and I need to verify that it made its way to you."
Sure, I guess.
And I think at this, knowing the contents of the letter, Florence will kind of take maybe an inappropriate amount of time looking over Reese and then the rest of the group that he's been standing with.
Can you roll me an intellect check then, please?
Ooh, love it. You gotta love it.
Okay. For a moment, you can't focus on anyone in this group. If anything, you see Astrid is looking at you. This huge wolf is sort of watching you move. And you look at this group and you can see these three men talking. You can see Reese signing off. And there's a moment where you think they're talking to you, but it's like you can't hear them. And that's because your eyes have been drawn somewhere else. Past them, past Astrid. There is a little girl stood off to the side staring at you. And she keeps looking at you, and then she looks to Reese, and then she looks back again, and she smiles. I need some help. And that's where we'll leave Doors of Dunera this week, is where we'll leave it. So,
Tuva!
Yay!
I wonder if she brought the dragon with her.
I love that you think it's Tuva. So.
Oh.
Oh boy.
I did not think it was Tuva.
I don't think it's Tuva. I think it's someone from Reese's past, the girl that we've been seeing.
So.
Whoa.
I love that Jay gets shook after everything. Every single thing.
I'm excited.
So. Thank you, everyone. We do replay. I think we're still replaying this on a Friday. I'm gonna say yes that it happens. So we'll replay it on a Friday. Otherwise, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Hero Forge. It is Black Friday. They're starting it right now, and if you use the code Scratticus, you get $5 off your first miniatures, which I'm obsessed with. I can't help myself. They're just fun to make. Also, Mage Hand Press. You can now pre-order their Dark Matter. I highly recommend it. I adore Dark Matter. D&D in space, and you need it in your life. And also the Deck of Many. You can see some amazing moving spell cards, and also their Humblewood, which is the most wholesome book I think I've ever seen. So please go check that out. Otherwise, head over to the Discord. We'd love to hear what you thought. I may have broken something. We would love to hear what you thought of this session, and maybe theories. I love reading theories. It's one of my favorite things. And if you've missed anything, you can catch up on YouTube, or if you want to binge watch it, it's up to you. Other than that, keep evoking emotions, and we'll see you all later. Bye.